Hey y'all, this is Joe from St. Bernard Acres. I'm here at the mini homestead in Wheeling. I feel the need to ring it. And if I get a little crazy and the language gets a little bad, I apologize. But it may, because I'm pissed. You know, I've been having some electrical problems here in this house. I've had a couple of electricians come out, go through everything. They tell me they think it's a problem coming from the service, coming to the house. I'm like, okay. Call it AEP, our electric company. We'll send somebody out, they'll put something on your line to see if there's any spikes coming. And what's happening is we'll be sitting in the house. All of a sudden the lights will get real bright and then they'll get dim. I mean, just lasts for, quarter of a second. But it'll go real bright and then dim again. And our cable box is on the same wall with the meter. Where the line comes from the pole coming down, the connection before it goes into the house, that has literally blown apart 3 times. So I call the electric company. They come out a couple weeks later after I called them back. And the guy pulls the meter out and we find a problem. I need to replace the meter case and the entrance line. The wire comes to the house. From that point, it's my responsibility, the meter base, the line, everything. So I'm like, okay, what had happened at the top of it, this is old, it doesn't have a weather head or anything, and water had got in the line, run down the line, down the neutral wire, got it all corroded. The guy from the electric company said, well, I'm not supposed to do this, but he scraped off a bunch of corrosion, and he happened to find a new clamp and a new screw in his truck that worked, hooked it all back up, got up on the top, resealed all of that up there so no more water could get in, and said, you got to replace that. I'm like, okay. He said, you call us, we'll come out. They have to disconnect the power to the line. We'll come out, disconnect it. When your electrician's done, we'll come back, we'll turn it back on. I'm like, awesome, I appreciate that. So I got with Andy. He said, yeah, we'll do it on this date. I'm like, okay. So I called the electric company back to schedule them. Come out, disconnect. You have to have a permit. I'm like, really? Why do I need a fucking permit? I'm not doing anything except taking one box off the wall and putting another box on. That's the difference. Well, we can't do it. We can turn it off, but we're not going to be able to turn it back on until we get a sign off from the city engineer. Then inspect it and it's okay. Like, you got to be fucking kidding me. So, okay. I call the city. Sure enough, I have to pay a permit. Got to get a permit to change out the fucking box. So, city engineer has to come out and discuss it with me. And I'm like, really? Okay, come on out, discuss it with me. So, he comes out. I said, yeah, all we have to do is, they'll pull the meter out, we'll put a new box in. Just the meter base, that's all it is. It's nothing, it doesn't do anything. Except hold the meter. Well, what's your wire like going into the house? It's fine. We haven't had any problems except for this. And since he scraped all that corrosion off and put a new clamp on there and sealed the top, we have had no issues whatsoever. Never had a problem since. So, that pretty much tells me, okay, that's where the problem lies. Let's go ahead and get that fixed. Well, I need to see the inside. Like, why do you need to see the inside? I'm not doing anything inside. There is no work going on inside. I'm not upgrading the electric. I'm not changing the electric. I'm not adding electric. I'm not putting on another fucking room. I'm not doing anything except taking this box off, putting this box on. That's the extent of what I'm doing. Well, let me take a look at it. So like a fucking idiot, I let him in the house. Oh, we can't approve any of this. This isn't going to work. That meter, that service panel cannot stay where it is. Those wires are not going in the way it is. That has to be moved. You can move it over to this location and you'll be okay. Well, none of the wires will reach over to that location. Well, it's going to have to be rewired. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm changing the box out there. I'm changing that base. That's all I'm fucking doing here. You know, no, I can't approve it. I'm not going to be able to sign off on this. And I'm like, this was here for 50 years. You know? I'm not changing it. I don't have to change anything. It's not up to code. Okay. Alright, let me talk with the electrician about moving the service panel. You know? Let's go outside and look. Okay, so we come back outside. That meter base is not, you know, it has to be moved 6 inches. Like, what are you talking about? It has to be moved 6 inches. Well, he's got his tape measure out, and he says, well, now code says it has to be over here. I'm like, I don't have to move, you know, I got to drill a new hole for the entrance line. The siding was put on after that meter base was put in. So it's not run behind it. There's just J-channel run around the meter base, siding up to it. If I take that off and move it 6 inches, now I got to replace all that siding. Well, yeah, up to the top, that's not legal anymore either. So all of that has to be replaced with weatherhead and all this kind of shit. And it also has to be moved over 8 inches. What are you talking about? It has to be moved over 8 inches. Well, somebody can get on the upstairs balcony there and reach out and touch it. I'm like, yeah, somebody about 6'5" and got a 50-inch wingspan could probably stretch over there and touch it. It has to move over about 8 inches. So all that siding has to be replaced. I'm like, really? Now this is just to replace this little piece here because I'm not fucking changing anything else, you know? The compressor went out in my air conditioner. I need a new compressor put in. Do I have to get a fucking permit to put that part in my air conditioning system? Well, no, sir. You just replace the compressor. Okay. All I'm doing is replacing a part here that doesn't function anymore the way it should. So I will put a new part in, and everything else will stay exactly the same. Can't do it. Can't approve it. So I'm like, so now I'm really starting to get aggravated. I'm really starting to get pissed about this whole ordeal. And I maintain my composure. I don't go ballistic. I'm like, okay. Thank you for coming out. He gave me this whole fucking book and shit. You know, all the new codes. Oh, yeah. Your grounding rod there. Well, now we require 2 grounding rods. So you have to buy another grounding rod and move it 6 feet away from this one. And you have to run a wire from back here all the way to the front of the house, out to the street where your water comes in. It has to be connected to that. And I just looked at it. I said, really? You know, now mind you, this house was built in 1905. All these houses in this neighborhood have been built, you know, around that time. So there is not, you cannot show me out of these 200, 300 houses around here, you cannot show me one of them that is going to be right. That is going to pass your fucking code. You know? So, he left. I called the electrician up. He comes out. And yeah, we can move it. No problem there. You basically have to rewire everything because you can't run that many junction boxes to get all of your wire from this location to go into the breakers over to this location to go into the breakers. Okay, what are we looking at? It's probably about $2,500. Okay. That's not replacing the siding on the house, the drywall where the old box has to be cut out, the new box put in somewhere, else. So now the drywall has to be done, insulation has to be done, new holes drilled in the side of the house. I want to know why I have to go through this. And I don't care about your fucking codes. You know? It's like, this thing was done to code when it was done. You know, I should at least be able to grandfather it in. No, you can't do that. Spend all that fucking money in order to fix that one, to replace that one meter base. Spend all that fucking money. You know? I don't understand it. You know? They want people to take in this area to fix up their homes, to make them pretty again. You know, tear down the old houses, you know, the decrepit ones that are falling down. You know, and I'm all for that. But why make it so hard to do that for you? You know, there was an old house that sat here on this lot where I am now. Old, you know, small house. Rotten. I mean, it was ready to be condemned. So I bought it, figured I'll tear it down, you know. I could use the yard for the dogs and garden or whatever. So we bought it, me and Nick and Alex, we started tearing it down. Come home from work one night, there's a cease and desist order on it. I don't have a permit to tear the house down. Really? Okay. So go waltzing down to the city and get this form, you know, it's got to be signed off by the electric company, the water company, the gas company, asbestos inspection, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'll do that. Electric company signs off on it. They did their thing. Water guy did his thing, signed off on it. Gas company came out, dug up the meter, everything. They signed off on it. I call this company that does the inspection, or asbestos, and they came out. He got up on a roof, looked at shingles, walked around inside the place, you know, looked everywhere. There's no asbestos. I'm like, awesome, you know, here. Go ahead and sign off on this. Well, no, that'll be $500. We have to send things in and get it tested to get a certificate. I'm like, you just told me there's nothing here. Yeah, but you have to have the certificate, and it costs $500. Okay, I'll call you later, don't worry about it. I tore the fucking house down. I did not do that. The way I tore it down, I took pictures as it fell. If there was ever going to be an issue, I can show them the pictures. Say, look, this house collapsed. It fell over in the neighbor's yard. I had to get it cleaned up and hauled out of the dump. You know, we had to get it all cleaned up because it collapsed and it was dangerous. You know, so that was 3 or 4 years ago. I've never heard a word about it. I mean, on the tax rolls now, it's just a vacant lot, no house or anything. So, you know, they kind of let me get away with that. But I'm trying to figure out why I have to spend $3,000 to replace a fucking meter base for my electric. Somebody needs to explain it. Somebody needs to justify their reasoning for that. You know? It just makes no sense. And, you know, it's not a whole lot different than, you know, I put up a few YouTube channels about, you know, how I'm working on the little house, you know, and this last one was a disaster, obviously, because I showed how I was adding a bunch of support to the roof system to make it a lot safer. Oh, people are, oh, that doesn't follow code. This isn't code. It's going to fall down, you know. It's like it's a little fucking roof. Where I live, we measure our snow in inches, not feet. You know, we don't live in Buffalo. We're not up in Alaska or Maine where we get feet of snow. We might get 12 inches, 14 inches all winter long. There's not going to be a fucking load up there. It's not going to collapse. You know, I think what it is, they don't want the regular guy to be able to do anything on their own. They want you to have to pay somebody to come and do everything for you. So you are totally dependent on somebody else to do this stuff for you. Because you're not smart enough to do it unless you're a licensed person. Now, I respect the person who has gone and got his license and has years and years of experience in doing this stuff. I understand that. My problem is I'm building a little fucking house. That's all it is, a little ass house. It ain't commercial property. It's not going to be sold to anybody. I'm not renting it out. You know, I'm building a little shelf. What is a house? What's the goal of this house? It'll keep me dry when it rains. It'll keep me warm in the winter. That's the purpose of the house. You know, I feel safe in it. I'm doing it the way I know it's going to be safe. I don't need people arguing over these various codes, and codes are different everywhere. You know, there's no need to argue. It's just like, you know, I wanted to take one of these beams out, and I heard no, and sure enough, I should not do that. In fact, not only should I not take that one out, I'm adding more, because I did find out how important it was. You know, so I do appreciate that. But now I'm going overkill on everything. You know, and it's still not good enough because it doesn't meet code. You know, it meets my code. I have no code out where I bought it. I bought that property because there are no codes. The only thing I have to get a permit for is my septic, and I have to have an annual inspection on that. And I got no problem with that. You come out and make sure this thing's working right. I don't have an issue with that. I don't want my shit floating around in my yard somewhere. Make sure this thing is done properly, works properly. So it's not like I'm against that, but it's almost like with this shit here, you know, wait a minute now, you're taking the food off of the table of somebody who belongs to the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Union or something. So you're not allowed to do anything on your own. You have to pay them to come out here and do it for you, because you're not competent enough. You're not fucking smart enough to take a box off the wall and put another box on the wall. Hello? You know? So now I'm going to spend $3,000 to take a box off the wall and put another box on the wall. Ain't happening. I'm telling you right now, it ain't happening. What that guy did by cleaning off all that corrosion and sealing off the top of that thing, we have not had a problem since. So guess what? If we start having a little bit of problem, I'm pulling that fucking meter out there, I'm scraping that thing down again, cleaning it all up, and putting the meter back in. You know? I have a friend who is willing, can't name names, he doesn't work for in this area, but he will come out and he will kill the power long enough for us to run a new line and put a new meter base on if we want to do that. And then he'll put the power back on. And he said, if you want to, go out there, it's old wires. Knock the shit down. Do your stuff, call the electrician, hey, those wires fall down. What the fuck? Come out and replace the wires. Then they'll come out and do it all. No permits or anything. I mean, there are ways around it, but why do we have to go around it? You know? Anyway, that's my rant. The regular guy is not allowed to do anything. We got to be dependent on somebody for everything in the world. We have to be dependent. That's what they want. They want us to be dependent on them because we can't do things on our own. But that's my rant. Let me see if I got an egg will make me happy. Gail got, I think, 3 of them today. So let me see if they laid any more. That'll up my spirits a bit. What do you think of this clock change, huh? You gotta go for your coop sooner. Let's see what we got back here. Nope. Oh, yeah. Alright, girls. Got one. Almost dropped it. Got one more. Look. Every time I look in here, I count 6 chickens. Why do we get 4 eggs? one of y'all better step it up. I'm telling you, you're awfully pretty. You're not going to get away with that too long. Somebody's up in there. But that's my rant. I appreciate you letting me rant. If you want to rant, if you want to tell me that how wrong I am, fine. That's what the comments are for. But that's how I feel about it. This is Joe, St. Bernard Acres. We'll talk to you later. Good night, girls.